Greetings and salutations, friends and gamers of all stripes. My name is GM Dave. I am your man behind the screen, and we are back, coming off my lunch and going to continue our talk on Superstar GMs. Although instead of being a So You Want to Be a GM episode, warning against it, this is going to be a D&D discussion talking about my own encounter with a Superstar GM. Actually the last one I had, crazy enough considering how long ago it was. So I'm actually recording this on the same day that I recorded the other one, although it's not being uploaded the same day. But hey, I had enough space on my phone for 2 videos, so there you go, 2 videos in one work day. Just knocking that out, giving myself a little bit of buffer room so that I can get the BitChute transfer and the Patreon set up come over the weekend. So again, yeah, keep an eye out for that. Anyway, my last encounter, and actually most memorable encounter both, with the Superstar GM, as a reminder for those who may have forgotten or who may not have noticed or watched the other video talking about it, the Superstar GM is essentially the GM that makes themselves the focus at the expense of the players. They basically tailor the story and the game to work exactly how they want it to, without any regard for whether or not the players are going to have any legitimate sense of involvement or agency with what they're being presented. Yeah, in my opinion, it's one of the worst kinds of GMs you can be, apart from being outwardly antagonistic. So, moving on, my last encounter with the Superstar GM actually happened in my freshman year of high school, so we're talking 2001. Yeah, that's 17 years ago was the last time I ran into a Superstar GM. It's pretty crazy to think about. Approximately 17 years ago anyway. I can't remember exactly when abouts it was. So I was playing with a group of friends at school. You know, it was I found out that one of the guys in my biology class at the end of the day played D&D, and at this point it had been a few years since I'd gotten the chance to play, so he and I just started talking about it. I happened to see him drawing a map on graph paper one day. You know, I told him, "Oh, hey, you know, what are you doing there?" Figuring I knew what he was doing, and sure enough, he told me, it's a map for a game. And before he could tell me what, I asked him, "Oh, is it Dungeons and Dragons? What do you play?" "Yeah, I do." So we got to talking about it a little bit and decided, hey, you know, let's see if we can find some people here who play. So we actually found out there was a couple other people in the class who played, and we got together and decided to do that. But one of the guys that we found out was a player was, at the time in the 90s, I just said it was 2001, late 90s, early 2000s, you know, you still had some of those stereotypical tropes of high school life existing. And one of those things you wouldn't expect was the crust punk skater kid. The cool, popular crust punk skater kid, I should say, to be a lifelong D&D player. And I stress player, not GM, not DM, player, specifically. He used to play in games with his dad, which I thought was pretty cool. So, you know, it happened to be that this group from that class and I, we were on our lunch, we were hanging out at this portion of the school, like setting up to play, and he noticed he happened to be there. And he came over, "You guys playing D&D?" And I had this guy in another one of my classes, so I was pretty surprised. And I looked at him and said, "You play?" Yeah. "Mind if I join you?" You know, I was like, "Oh, you mind if I just sit in for a bit?" So we sat in, you know, we hung out, started talking. You know, we only had a half-hour lunch, so we didn't exactly get a ton of time to play or anything, but we were at least getting set up to find some time to start playing, which was going to be difficult for me because I lived in the mountains, like 45 minutes out of the town I went to high school in. But I digress. We get together, we start playing, we start talking, and he offers, the skater crustpunk kid offers to DM for us. He says, "Oh yeah, you know, I'll bring some stuff, I can run a game for you guys, you know, because the guy who I originally found, the guy from science class, I'm just gonna call him science class. Science class, he usually GM'd. He rarely got the chance to be a player, so Crustpunk stepped up to give science class the chance to be a player, which I thought was pretty cool. Little did we know what we were walking into. So as it turns out, Crustpunk's been playing in a game with his dad currently, or was a couple of years, I think it was about a year before he ran into us. And they haven't played since because his dad had been too busy. So he decided, oh yeah, I'll bring my character from that game over and we'll join up. So he was going to run that character as a DM NPC just to sort of give a feel for what he had planned and just have someone in the party to help out. At least that was my perception of the situation at first. Boy, was I wrong. So we start at level 1. His character is level 4 already. He just literally brings his old character sheet. She's level 4. I can't remember what class she was. I think Ranger. Weirdly enough, I seem to run into a lot of people that did this who played Ranger. The stereotype I've heard tends to be Paladin, but in my experience, it's been Ranger. At least with 3.5, that was often the case. But in any case, he brings his character, and he's excited to play. We're all excited to play. And he gets in. He's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'm reading over the character, and I'm still at this point. I'm still fairly new to the hobby. I've only been playing it for about 3 years, and not concurrently. It's been on and off for those 3 years. So I'm still pretty new to things. My feet are damp, but not wet. But immediately the red flags are already coming up. Because I'm looking and I'm seeing, well, he's level 4. We're all level 1. He's got a crazy amount of stuff on him, too. This seems like more than what a level 4 character should have. Because my last experience, or my last really big experience playing D&D up to that point, was my early experience. The other ones had all been one-shots or one-offs, but my early experience of playing the Sunless Citadel, my first experience in 3rd edition, when I joined in, the character was level 2. We finished, he was level 4, and my friend Jimmy's stepdad Steve was very good about making sure that our equipment was well balanced and that we had what we needed when we needed it. We weren't overpowered, we weren't underpowered. So I had a good sense about what you should have at level 4, give or take. This guy had way more stuff. And some of the stuff he had was just egregiously powerful, including one of his weapons, which was, I think, doing the math based on, from what I remember, the abilities it had. It was a sword, a long sword. I believe it had a +3 enhancement bonus. Some sort of an elemental burst effect, which if I remember from 3rd, at the time this would have been 3.5, added up to an additional +2 bonus, and it had something else on top of that. So it was a +6 or +7 equivalent weapon. The kind of weapon that you don't get until levels 15 to 20. And he has it. And I'm like, oh, what's this? Oh yeah, that's my dad's weapon actually. Yeah, I grabbed that up. And more red flags come up then. Wait a minute. He's 4 times higher level than us. He's got equipment that he's taken from his dad's max level character. His dad had a level 21 character from an old game. He's taken equipment from that character, using it himself, writing it on his own character sheet. And doubtless the weapon was not the only thing, because some of the other stuff I saw was just insane. So his power level is already leagues beyond anything we could hope to accomplish. Leagues beyond it. So red flags immediately start rising up. And sure enough, we start playing. Things are going smooth at first. We get the basic introduction that you get in most D&D games. Oh, you meet in a tavern, blah, 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 this and that. That stereotypical introduction that I do not recommend people use anymore. It's fine for first-timers and people who are very early on. Anywhere beyond that, I don't think you should use that anymore. I'll get into that in a separate video at some point. But we go along. And at this time, I'm trying to remember what my character was. I believe it was a cleric. I was a cleric. I very specifically told him because, at the time, I was kind of relearning 3rd edition, 3.5 specifically, because it had just come out. So I was sort of learning some of the things that were new, some of the things that were different, and I was breaking away from my standard of playing a ranger. So I'm learning some new stuff that I'm not really used to at this point. And I'm trying to figure out kind of the ins and outs of cleric now. Because this is my first big foray into a cleric, but I had a clear vision in mind for the kind of character I wanted to play. I wanted him to be a cleric that was sort of like, in terms of how he fought, kind of like a Roman legionary or a Spartan. He had a spear, had a shield, get in melee, use the reach of his spear, similar to the ranger that I ended up building much later on, my character Theron, that I built for that other game that I talked about in my long video going up to Idlewild to visit Jimmy again. The last game that we had played together before that most recent one. So I told him, well, I definitely want him to be a spear wielder, shield and spear. I don't know what god I want to worship yet, but that's what I want to do. And I'm gonna, kind of read through things and sort of figure it out. So he's like, all right, cool, yeah, I'll walk you through it. Kind of walks me through some stuff. He brought the character sheets, and since he was running it at the time, we all lived in wildly different parts of the area. I lived up in Idlewild, which was, like I said, 45 minutes up in the mountains out of the town. Someone else lived in Garner Valley, which was about 15 minutes down the road, but lower on the mountain from Idlewild, a little bit closer to where we went to school. And the other 3 people all lived in different parts of Hemet, where I went to school. So we decided, since Crustplunk was running the game, you know what? Let's let him keep the character sheets. Boy, was that a mistake. That was a huge mistake. We should have kept them ourselves. We come back, and for the newer players, he had built our characters for us. Which, okay, that's fair enough for the new players who were completely new, which there were 2 of them, who were completely new. They heard Chris and I talking. I'm sorry. I wasn't gonna give his name, but I mean, I don't think it really matters. I actually haven't talked to Chris in, actually not since freshman year, so in 17 years. Chris was science class. So, Chris and I were talking, one of the other guys was talking. I think we ended up with a total of 6 people here, so it was gonna be 5 players plus the GM. 2 of the players were completely new. One of the players had about as much experience as I did, a little bit more than I did, and Chris was the most experienced among us apart from Crustplunk. And Crustplunk comes back having pre-made everyone's character except for Chris's. Was the only one with the foresight enough to say, no, it's fine, I'll keep my sheet. I want to work on my character at home. I should have done the same thing. I had my own books at that point. There was no reason for me, really, to leave the sheet with him. But I did. So I come back, the character's pre-made for me, and I didn't make much fuss about it, but I should have. Because I'm looking at it, and it's nothing like the character I wanted to make. He doesn't use the spear and shield combat. In terms of the kind of cleric he is, he made me lawful evil for some reason. I don't know why. I wasn't going to go with an evil god. I wasn't going to go with an evil character. But he assumed, because the very first character I played in the little one-shot we did was a neutral evil half-orc barbarian who I did not play as actually particularly evil. I was just like, I was trying to figure out because I didn't know, I was reading barbarians, I didn't know what, if there were any alignment restrictions, because at the time I'd seen the alignment suggestion. I was thinking, they're usually chaotic. I wonder, is it like paladins? Do they have to be? And I was asking the guy who was setting up this particular game for us, that first game I played with Chris, it was the guy who was about as experienced as I was the one playing it. And I was like, hey, do barbarians have an alignment requirement? Have to be chaotic? And he's like, oh, you can be whatever alignment. He just he hand waved it away. I was like, any character can be any alignment. Well, that's not true. Like paladins, monks, they have alignment restrictions. Barbarians got a blurb on alignment talking about them being chaotic. I'm trying to figure out, does my barbarian have to be chaotic? He's like, no, I'm just going to make you neutral evil, man. It's just easier that way. So, in that instance, yeah, he took agency away from me, made my character neutral evil, and I didn't even play him that way. So, that was kind of dumb. But I think Crustpunk assumed, because the character that he saw me playing with originally was neutral evil, or that I would be playing an evil character. So he made my cleric lawful evil, which I did not want. So I didn't make a fuss about it because I was more interested in just being like, all right, whatever, I just want to play. But I should have. That was the first major red flag where I should have been like, hey, whoa, no, this isn't cool, this isn't okay. I didn't ask for you to make my character for me. I asked for your help, I didn't say make it for me. Now, the one bit of credit I will give him is he did think of one interesting idea for my weapon. So instead of giving me a spear, he did give me a quarterstaff, but it was, as he wrote down on the sheet, a family staff. So it was an heirloom passed down in my family, which that I thought I was okay with that. I was like, okay, I'm okay with the idea of the weapon being an heirloom. I wish he had done it as a spear like I had asked, but the heirloom idea is really cool. I do like that. I like that it adds some story to what I'm carrying to my character. But everything else was a big red flag for me that I didn't pay attention to, and again, I should have. So we start playing, and immediately it becomes very apparent this is not a game where we as players are going to be playing in. This is a game where Crustpunk, as the DM, is going to be telling us a story of how kick-ass and awesome his character is, and we get to travel along and watch. Now again, at the start of it, things were okay. Because, like I mentioned, we started in the tavern, did a little light role play to get our characters to know each other. Some of us had decided, we'll have a pre-existing relationship, make things a little bit easier. So, the beginning, first few minutes of it was fine for the most part. We only played for about an hour. So the beginning 15-20 minutes was fine. But then as we started on the adventure proper, started going into the dungeon and everything, it evolved quickly. Crustpunk started just stealing the spotlight for himself, for his character. Every decision that was made was his decision. He was cutscening, he was railroading, the whole 9 yards. Now, I don't hold a grudge against him for this. Like I said, this is the kind of guy where it was painfully obvious that even then, even after I actually miscalculated originally. I said I'd been playing for about 3 years. It was about 5, but again, on and off, very sparse. It was actually about a 1.5 to 2 year period at that point since I started playing again that I had not played at all for about 2 years. So, big window, lots of time for me to forget. So, again, I didn't hold a grudge against him then. I don't hold a grudge against him now, because this is one of those situations, like I said, where it was painfully obvious that he was a player, first and foremost. He didn't ever really GM before, except for maybe his little siblings or something. So, him bringing his character and doing all that, wanting to be part of the party, wanting to be part of the group, that was his intent. But because, he's also a freshman in high school, he's also thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to grab all this awesome stuff, but it's going to be so kick-ass, we're going to kick ass. I know that was his mindset, because when the first fight came around, he even said, oh, this is going to be fun. Guys, we are going to kick ass. We are going to kick ass. Not he is going to kick ass, we are going to kick ass. He legitimately thought that he was given a story for all of us. He didn't realize that he had railroaded us and tied us down with no agency into a story about his character, and only his character. No, and that was because of his inexperience. So, fair enough, I don't hold a grudge against him for that at all. But nevertheless, it stands as the prime example that I've experienced of the superstar GM. The GM who makes the story all about them, takes agency away from their players, focuses solely on what they want to do and what they care about. Wow, that's cool. Some douchebag just crossed into the turn lane and sped in front of everybody. Neat. Anyway, I digress. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it was still the prime experience I had with the Superstar GM, and more than that, it was prime experience. It was a very telling moment because it showed to me that the Superstar GM doesn't necessarily have to be aware that they're doing that. It can very much be a symptom of inexperience. And that's what the core point of this particular anecdote is, this particular story is just because I do view the Superstar GM as one of the absolute worst kinds of GMs you can run into, that does not mean that they should just be condemned. We should help them. That's why I asked at the end of the last video for techniques that people might have for helping Superstar GMs get past that, or even if they were a Superstar GM at one point, how they got past that, how they learned that, oh shit, this is not a good way to play. This does not make things fun for everybody. Because oftentimes, a lot of early GMs will fall into the Superstar trap. A lot of them do. And if we just give up on them for doing that, well, then that helps nobody. But that said, there are also the Superstar GMs who are experienced and who do make that happen just out of selfishness and greed, knowing full well that they're just kind of taking the reins solely for themselves. Either way, when you run into that problem as the player, it is up to you to either talk with the GM about it or take the option not to play in that game. I took the latter option. After that first session, Chris and I both decided, well, let's not play in this one. It's no good. He's making it all about himself, and it's not going to be fun for anybody. So there you have it, friends and gamers of all stripes. That is my most recent and most memorable encounter with the Superstar GM. It was a brief encounter, but an incredibly impactful one. Fortunately, I have not run into that issue often. I count myself very lucky in that because I know quite a few people who have encountered that problem. So, friends and gamers, if you have encountered that problem, again, please share those stories with me in the description below. How did you deal with that if you've run into the Superstar GM in the past? Did you opt to leave? Did you opt to talk to them? Did you take a completely different option that I hope doesn't involve punching them in the face or something like that? Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and experiences are. I'd love to carry on an interesting discussion about this topic. I do think that this is a kind of GMing that is harmful enough to our games that it does merit 2 videos worth of discussion about it. As always, if you enjoy my content, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification button to be notified of when I upload things. However, I highly recommend that if you want consistent notifications, follow me on social media. Links are in the description down below. I will be starting a BitChute account this weekend as well. Keep an eye out for that. The link will be in the description of the first video that features BitChute, or that features BitChute. The first video I post after setting up my BitChute account and getting stuff uploaded there. I am going to try to upload as much of my backlog there as possible. I do still have everything saved to my computer, even after the crash of the previous one. I was able to save all the old videos, thankfully. But keep an eye out for that. I'll make an announcement for that the day it happens, once everything is up and the page is ready to go. So keep your eyes open for that. And I'm not positive, but I think Phoenix, I have to talk with Hannah, but I think Phoenix Rising should be updating again tomorrow too. I'll double check with her, but I'm pretty sure it's going to. So keep your eyes open for that as well. I'll make an announcement for sure tomorrow if it actually does. And if it doesn't, well, keep your eyes open on it anyway. Speaking of some cool news, yesterday, well, today for me actually, but I'm posting this tomorrow. So yesterday, we actually received our first 10-star rating on Phoenix Rising. So that was pretty cool. That was a nice little bit of excitement for me there, seeing that come up on our Phoenix Rising page. And well, yeah, actually, I think that about covers it now. So, friends and gamers of all stripes, as usual, my name is GM Dave. I am your man behind the screen, and it is my sincere hope, as always, that you roll high, role play well, and game on. Have a beautiful day.